Hey, what's up, guys? Hang on one second here. Okay. I thought I'd go live real quick and talk about some of the things we saw tonight, the 5-on-5 Matchroom versus Queensbury over in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on the Zone pay-per-view. Um, it, Matchroom got their shit pushed in. They got absolutely destroyed. No surprise to me. Um, I didn't do a preview video. I just didn't have the time to do it. But those of you who follow me on Twitter and those of you who read Ring Magazine's our website, ringtv.com, you saw my predictions online and you knew who I felt was going to win. And hell, if you've paid attention to this show, if you've listened to my podcast for the last several years, you know pretty much how I'd feel going into this card. So I just wanted to give some quick thoughts on this. Look, I realized there were several different fights on the card that we could talk about, but I want to focus on the two heavyweight fights. Reason being, a lot of truth is starting to be revealed in the heavyweight division. A lot of narratives are being unraveled. Um, a lot of truth is just coming to light. You all have been told some fantastic lies for a while. Okay. And again, all lies in the end are revealed and the truth does come to light. And we're seeing that right now. So in the main event, Zhilei Zhang scores a knockout win over Deontay Wilder, who got caught with a clean shot in an exchange. You know, you kept hearing that Deontay Wilder was the faster, more athletic fighter. Well, they both threw punches at the same time, and Zhang's got there quicker because it was straighter and shorter. So guess what? Fundamentals won out. And the southpaw landed his shot first. Wilder got stunned, and he did a spin move, the same spin move he was doing on the mitts in training camp. You guys saw that video on X, Twitter, and everything else. And you know, he likes to goof around and do that stuff in training. Well, it doesn't really work in a real fight. He did the spin move, and Zhang, to his credit, didn't lay off the gas like Alexander Usyk kind of did in the ninth round with Tyson Fury. He kind of let the ref step in. Zhang said, "Nah, I'm going for it. The ref's gonna have to tackle my ass," and he landed another hard shot and put Wilder to sleep. So that was it. Wilder was never in the fight. He landed a couple of shots just before he was knocked out, but nothing bothered Zhang at all. He honestly was just timing him and looking for a counter, and he landed it. You could see Zhang being patient in setting him up throughout the entire fight. It was pretty much went the way I thought. I told everybody mid-rounds KO, and that's what you got, right? Also, the other heavyweight fight, Daniel Dubois gets a win over Filip Hrgović. Now, look, Dubois did use the head a lot. He would have made Andre Ward and Evander Holyfield very proud with his use of the head. However, Hrgović just didn't look very good. He had some moments, but I thought Dubois' jab was solid in that fight, and he looked good. And, you know, look, if you look at the trajectory of recent fights with Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois, they sure make Alexander Usyk look good. If you look at the trajectory of recent fights between Deontay Wilder, Dillian White, Derek Chisora, they sure don't look good for Tyson Fury. So Tyson Fury's signature wins over the last few years really have not aged well. They don't bode well for him. Meanwhile, Alexander Usyk's wins are continuing to age like fine wine. And we had this, you know, in this generation, because of premier boxing champions and them refusing to work across the aisle and make fights with Wilder and the other premier heavyweights, we kind of had the two divisions in the heavyweight division. You had the, I would call, international side, which had Anthony Joshua, Joseph Parker, you know, all those kind of fighters. And then on the other side, you had Deontay Wilder, all the PBC guys, and eventually they brought over Tyson Fury as a cherry pick. And it was one of the worst cherry picks of the 21st century. It was one of the biggest blunders in boxing management history, at least in the last 20 or so years. Them turning down over $100 million for fights with Anthony Joshua to face Tyson Fury, who they thought was, you know, easy money. They thought that was just easy and they could claim the lineal title, even though Fury had been out for nearly 3 years and done nothing and been stripped of every title he had and been suspended for using steroids. That cherry pick went wrong. It was a disaster. They were lucky to get a draw in the first fight. The rematch was just a devastating one-sided fight. And the third fight, the only reason it was remotely competitive is because Fury had been inactive, gained a lot of weight, and was coming off of COVID and was sloppy. 100% Wilder, the guy that we saw in the rematch would have flattened 100% Fury, the guy we saw in the rematch would have flattened Wilder in the same fashion in the third fight. So anyway, look, let me share my screen real quick. Look, I get accused of being a Deontay Wilder hater. Nothing could be further from the truth. I just want to put this on record, okay? I want to make this very, very clear. I was entertained by Deontay Wilder's fights. I enjoyed watching the guy fight. He has been one of the most exciting heavyweights of this era, okay? The mid-2010s through the mid-2020s, the post-Klitschko era. And I've talked about this before. The Klitschko era had a lot of skill and talent, a lot of underrated, underappreciated skill and talent, but it didn't have personality. It just lacked characters and personality and big names. You had a couple guys come in here or there like David Hay and stuff and make a little bit of noise, but it just didn't have the personality. Well, this generation did. It didn't have the skills and everything, the talent of the Klitschko era, but it had characters. And Deontay Wilder was one of the brightest characters. Right now, you could argue that he was extremely divisive. He basically tried to start a race war going into some of those Fury fights, and it got into this weird, almost God complex with some of the LDBC guys, and there's just a weird dynamic there. All that being said, all that gave energy to the division. And there was life in the heavyweight division. There was this character. And the same can be said for Tyson Fury. He's extremely divisive. He rubs a lot of people the wrong way politically and all this stuff. But he is a character, right? So that's what this era has had. And Deontay Wilder, again, one of the biggest characters. So I just want to read this tweet. I said, so two things can be true at the same time. Deontay Wilder is one of the most overrated fighters of the 21st century. However, he was an overachiever who gave us super exciting moments and added a lot of character to the heavyweight division. It's time to hang him up. Okay. I know there's going to be people out there who are triggered by that tweet, and they're going to try to find some hidden meaning and dog whistle in it and go nuts with it. Fine. Make your videos and podcasts talking about it. You're all morons anyway. What I said there is exactly what I'm saying. Like I'm not, there's no hidden meaning. Okay. Just take it at face value, guys. A couple other tweets I wanted to share. I said, Usyk's wins over Joshua and Dubois continue to age like fine wine. All is being revealed in the heavyweight division. Let's see what else. I said Wilder tried that spin move he was doing on the mitts in training camp, and yeah, it didn't turn out so well in an actual fight. That's going to trigger some people. I also tweeted, and y'all thought this guy would KO Joshua? There's a reason Wilder's team turned down generational wealth, literally 9 figures, to face him twice, which he was offered to do. So, okay, I could keep going with some of the tweets I've posted, but we'll let that go for now. Back to that, though. Deontay Wilder's career is done. He needs to hang him up. He's made a lot of money, not as much as he could have made if he had taken the deal with DAZN to fight AJ twice and get $100 million. And by the way, it wasn't just AJ twice. It was Dominic Breazeale and then AJ twice. Would have been over $100 million. But anyway, he still made tens of millions of dollars. He made a lot of money, an overachiever, won a heavyweight belt, had several defenses, went to the Olympics. He has a statue in his hometown, and I think that's warranted. He's a hero in his hometown. And, props to him for all his achievements. All that being said, many prominent members of the American boxing press were calling him the greatest puncher in the history of boxing. They weren't saying he was one of the hardest punchers of his generation. They weren't saying he was one of the hardest heavyweight punchers of his generation. They were saying he was the biggest puncher in the history of boxing. And there are still people, I mean, even during the broadcast, the commentary crew made comments like that. It's absolutely asinine. When you look, Deontay Wilder had a money right hand, a very good right hand. Okay. There wasn't much power in the jab or the hook or the uppercut or body punches, but in the straight overhand right, he had power in that. And he knocked out a bunch of guys with that punch, right? Okay. So he did have that punch. But if you look at the guys he fought, let's and this, again, this isn't me beating up on Wilder. This is me talking about the American boxing press's and fans and pundits' obsession with him. For some reason, they were fixated and obsessed with this guy. And I think politically, socially, he checks a lot of boxes in their minds for what a dominant heavyweight's supposed to be. Okay. He just checked a lot of boxes for them. And so the way their brain works and the way they calculate things, Wilder is a monster at heavyweight. And so now they have to do all these mental gymnastics to try to explain why he's looked so poor once he stepped up and finally faced the elite. Let's be clear about one thing. The three best fighters Deontay Wilder ever faced as a professional were Tyson Fury, Joseph Parker, and Zhilei Zhang. How'd he do in those fights? Well, he was 0-4-1. And a lot of people felt he was lucky to get the draw, and he may have been 0-5. He was KO'd in three of those fights. He was KO'd in three of those fights. And if you look at all five of them, look, if you're being very generous, okay, you could give him 5 rounds in that first Fury fight. You could give him, he won 0 in the rematch. You could give him 2 or 3 in the third fight. Again, if you're being generous. He won 0 rounds against Parker, 0 rounds against Zhang. So in those 5 fights against the 3 best fighters he ever faced, he won maybe 8 rounds. Okay? Maybe 8 rounds. Those were all 12-round fights. Do the math, guys. So, and he was knocked out viciously in 3 of them, right? Brutally stopped in 3 of them. So again, not saying this to beat up on the guy. I'm saying this to just show his level and where he was. He was promoted and marketed as a generational talent. Again, the hardest puncher in the history of boxing. And a first ballot Hall of Famer, all this kind of stuff. He just wasn't on that level. And all the people out there that bash Arturo Gatti for being in the Hall of Fame, right? Arturo Gatti shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. He wasn't on that level. A lot of those are the same people who are going to vote for Deontay Wilder to be in the Hall of Fame, and he couldn't hold a candle to Arturo Gatti pound for pound. That's the truth. There's just a lot of hypocrisy and double standards and politics and social stuff going on here. That's part of this. Make no mistake. Look, would I vote for Deontay Wilder in the Hall of Fame? No, I probably won't. The only way I would is if it's a really weak year. You have to vote for 3 people. And if there's nobody else on the ballot that's more worthy than him, then maybe he gets in on a weak year. But there's absolutely no chance I would vote for him on the first ballot. He's just not on that level. There are literally dozens of other guys currently on the ballot I would put in before Deontay Wilder, guys who are far more accomplished and did so much more in the sport and were just better fighters. So, but having said that, mark my words, on the first ballot, Deontay Wilder will get into the Hall of Fame because all of the American boxing writers will vote for him. All of them. What I find so interesting, guys, go back to ringtv.com. Look at our website and look at our panel who gave their picks for this fight. There's 20 of us, and 12 of us had Zhang winning. 8 had Wilder winning. Almost half, right? And you'll notice a pattern with all of it. It's the American writers. And then if you look at a lot of other American pundits on other platforms and stuff, they all picked Wilder. There were a lot of people betting Wilder. And, we have a couple of big time gamblers that call into the show. And I have a lot of guys around the country that call me all the time asking like, hey, how should I bet this? How should I bet that? And I give them my advice. And I told them, dude, this is free money. This is free money. All Zhang has to do is get through the first 2 or 3 rounds where he might be a little cold and stiff, and Wilder might get a home run punch in there, win the lottery. Other than that, this is going to be a mid-rounds KO for Zhang. And that's exactly what happened. So this was free money. They were just handing you, this was an example of how in the world are people seeing this as an even matchup. There is something about Deontay Wilder that particularly American boxing pundits can't let go of. They still think that this guy is George Foreman, Lennox Lewis, Joe Louis, Larry Holmes. They think he's on that level, and they just can't see past that. It's amazing. It's really amazing. Anyway, where we are at right now, Deontay Wilder needs to retire, hang him up. 5 years from now, all of the old school American boxing press, the guys that are in the BWAA, which is 95% guilt-ridden old white guys, far leftist, they're going to vote Deontay Wilder in. And I know some of you are going to take that and post it all over the place. Go ahead, do what you got to do. But they will. So he's going to get in first ballot. And look, let me repeat, and the same assholes who got mad at the last sentence won't repeat this. I enjoyed watching Deontay Wilder's fights. He was a great character for the heavyweight division. He gave us really exciting moments, and he was a true overachiever. For the guy who came to the sport late and was not the most skilled fighter, not the most schooled fighter, he sure made up for a lot of that with his tenacity, his grit, his heart, and that right hand. And he was able to win a belt and hold on to it and win multiple defenses. When he finally got in there against the elite level guys, he struggled, right? He struggled and he lost all of his fights against the elite. But against the B-level, C-level guys, he did his thing. And he entertained fans for a decade. But before I move on to the other guys, one more thing about Deontay Wilder, right? Because a lot of you guys, if you're listening to the show for the first time and stuff, this guy had an opportunity to fight for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world late 2014, early 2015. Vladimir Klitschko wanted to fight Berman Stavern. They were willing to offer Deontay Wilder step-aside money. Wilder at that point was being promoted by Lou DiBella, but he still had Shelley Finkel around. He was a PBC guy. He might have even still been affiliated with Golden Boy Promotions still to an extent, because I'm trying to think of when that all broke up. It was around that time. Okay, so he had this management team around him. But Klitschko wanted undisputed, and they were willing. Wilder was Berman Stavern's WBC mandatory. Klitschko had all the belts. He had dominated the division for a decade, and he wanted a chance at undisputed. And they were willing to give Wilder step aside and give him a fight next for undisputed, which would have been an 8-figure payday. Now you got to go back, guys, to 2014, 2015. Wilder had never made 7 figures. Okay, had he taken the step aside money, obviously, Klitschko destroys Berman Stavern in the 3 or 4 rounds, right? Becomes undisputed. And then you get a fight between Klitschko and Wilder. Wilder would have got 8 figures for that fight, because he would have been a mandatory. There would have been a certain percentage in there that he would be guaranteed. And they probably would want to avoid a purse bid. So they would have given him more money, a higher cut than he would have gotten otherwise as a mandatory. So he would have gotten an 8-figure payday and gotten a chance at undisputed against an all-time great heavyweight. His team rejected it. I'm not saying Deontay Wilder rejected it. A lot of you guys, again, you're thinking I'm beating up on Wilder. His team, Shelley Finkel, the management at PBC, they turned it down. Why? Why would you turn down 8 figures? You have a chance to make generational wealth for your fighter. The future's not guaranteed. You could blow out your knee, blow out your shoulder a week from now and never fight again, right? You could get in a car accident. Anything could happen. You have a chance to fight for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world against an aging Klitschko who is on the downside of his career, getting old, and make that kind of money. They said no. Years later, they had a chance to fight Anthony Joshua. At one point, that would have been for the undisputed championship. Joshua had all the belts except that BC, which Wilder had. And they were offered, Wilder had a mandatory at the time, Dominic Breazeale, and his promoter at the time, Lou DiBella, negotiated a great deal for him with DAZN when they were just throwing away money like candy. And they offered him $20 million for Stavern and $40 million twice with Anthony Joshua. Win, lose, or draw in the first fight, they do a rematch. So it was a 3-fight deal for $100 million, literally 9 figures. Okay, that's true generational wealth. And once again, it would have been at one point for undisputed. It would have been for all the belts. And Wilder's team turned it down. In fact, they didn't just turn it down. They kicked Lou DiBella to the curb at that point because there was a beef there. A promoter's job is to get his fighter the biggest opportunities in the biggest paydays. And twice, Wilder was lined up for unbelievable opportunities and massive paydays, 8 to 9-figure paydays. And he was advised to turn those deals down. I could talk about the track record of his promotion, doing this with other fighters in the past and how they've been advised, ill-advised, and have gone on to have difficulties when they've been steered in a certain direction. It didn't quite work out for them. I could talk about just sticking with Wilder, though. Again, they thought Tyson Fury was easy money. They thought it was easy work, right? And they made a business decision. It didn't work out well for them. And here we are years later, and we see what happens with Wilder. So all that being said, okay, Deontay, like, if you're listening, dude, hang him up. Enjoy your retirement, brother. You've made a lot of money. You've made your family proud. You're a good father. You take great care of your kids. You're a hero in your hometown. You have nothing to be ashamed of, bro. You achieved way more than anybody could have ever imagined, right? I've sparred and fought with guys in the Masters that are now in their 40s that fought you and beat you as an amateur, right? Like you've come a long way since that time, right? Dude, you have nothing to be ashamed of. Hang them up, walk away while you still got your health. Now, for Big Bang Zhang, for Zhilei Zhang, top 5 heavyweight, definitely a top 10 heavyweight. I'm trying to think who do you rate above Zhang right now? Obviously, the champion is Usyk. Right behind him is Fury. Right behind him is Joshua. Right behind him is Parker. And then right there at number 5, I think it's got to be the man from China. I think he has to be right there, right? Who else do you put in that spot? So there's a top 5 heavyweight, maybe top 10. And he's going to be lined up for a big payday. I'd like to see him against Anthony Joshua. And I think His Excellency, by the way, I don't think he likes being called that anymore, Turki Al-Sheikh. I think that he can negotiate a deal that would make a lot of sense for a Joshua Zhang fight. And that'd be a lot of fun, yo. I'd like to see it. I know you guys would too. And while we know Fury and Usyk are going to rematch later this year in December, so they're busy, right? They're unavailable. So man, take Joshua, take Zhang, have them fight again, or have them fight. I think that'd be a lot of fun. There's also look, I would mention Parker, but Parker's already fought Joshua, right? He's already fought Zhang. So I just don't know where to go with Joseph Parker. He's kind of in a tough spot. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of demand for him to fight Joshua again. I don't know. Maybe, and possibly a rematch between him and Zhang. That could work. Any combination of those fights, sign me up. But I think Joshua Zhang, that would be a lot of fun. Okay, let's talk about Dubois Hrgovic. Ugly, kind of ugly fight with a lot of headbutts and blood and stuff. But I did think that Dubois did some good work in there. And regardless of how he got the W, he got it. So since the loss to Alexander Usyk, Dubois had just destroyed Jarrell Big Baby Miller, got rid of that cheater, beat him up. That was awesome. And then he gets this win over Filip Hrgovic, who was an undefeated top 10 ranked heavyweight. I've been one of the guys on the Ring Ratings panel that's been saying Daniel Dubois is a top 10 heavyweight. And not everyone's agreed with me. In fact, the majority of the panel has disagreed with me. Well, now they're going to have to listen to me. I've been vindicated once again because he's proven himself to be a top 10 heavyweight. He is. And so now, the Ring Ratings Committee will talk tomorrow, and I'm going to be like, ha, told you so. And everyone's going to have to say, okay, Mike, you had that one. Right. Dubois is a top 10 heavyweight. He is. He's learned on the job. He's had a couple of tough nights. I get it. But he's been willing as a really young guy to fight top heavyweights. And when you do that as a guy with a limited amateur background and a young guy without a lot of seasoning, you're going to have to do some learning on the job. You're going to have some tough lessons learned. And he's had those nights. But all in all, he's shown a lot of tremendous improvement. And I think he's a top 10 heavyweight. And Alexander Usyk has 2 wins over Anthony Joshua, who's perhaps the second best heavyweight in the world. I got to say, guys, head to head, I like Joshua over Fury. I've been saying that for years. Go back and check the record. I always like Joshua over Wilder. Go back and check the record. Parker would have always beat Deontay Wilder. Not Tyson Fury, though. They wouldn't even fight because they're friends. But Parker would always beat Deontay Wilder. I've been talking about that kind of stuff for years. But Joshua might be the second best heavyweight in the world, no less than the third best heavyweight in the world. And Usyk has 2 clear, decisive wins over him, and he stopped Daniel Dubois. Had a difficult moment, right, where that if you want to call it a legal blow, an illegal blow, a borderline blow, whatever it was, the ref ruled it as a low blow. Usyk got a few minutes to recover, but he was still hurt and damaged from it. And Dubois tried to follow up, but Usyk, to his credit, rose to the occasion and weathered that storm and then stopped Dubois. So the people that are mad that Dubois didn't get the knockout, look, dude, it was a call that didn't go his way, but it's not like that low blow call affected the scoring of the fight. It's not like it was an even fight. It's not like Dubois was doing great work and the fight was up for grabs and that call cost him a decision or something, right? On the cards. The only round he won is where he landed that shot that at best was borderline, like half low, half legal. I personally thought it was low, and he went low multiple times in the fight. Did Usyk milk it a little bit and look for some help from the ref? Yep, he sure did. Absolutely did. No different than what Floyd Mayweather would do, Bernard Hopkins, Muhammad Ali, and 1,000 other fighters that you all love would do in that situation. Okay? It's called craft. He did that. He survived. And then he not only survived, he dominated and stopped Daniel Dubois. That win has aged extremely well recently. Cross-reference that with Tyson Fury's recent wins, and they haven't aged quite as well. For Filip Hrgović, I don't think this loss takes a lot from him. He suffered some headbutts. It was just, it's not like he was stopped and dominated or something like it. It was cuts, right? So he'll get better from this, but Hrgović has limitations. He's going to go as far as his chin and skin will take him. What I mean by skin is the cuts, right? Because he cuts. And he could be susceptible to that in future fights because he's not hard to hit. We've seen that. So he'll go as far as his chin and skin will take him, but and he's going to be a tough out for anybody. I still think Hrgović is a top 10 heavyweight, but he does have limitations. So where we're at the heavyweight division right now, I told you guys my top 5. It's Usyk, Fury, Joshua, Parker, and Zhang. That's my top 5. I still think Dubois is in the top 10. I think Hrgović is in the top 10. The other 3 guys, I don't know, pick 3 names. There's several you can choose from. But it's kind of, after those 7 fighters I named, it's kind of wide open, honestly. Things have been blown wide open. Ajit Caballel probably in the top 10 now himself. You can make that argument. Anyway, hopefully we get to see Zhang back in there. Maybe it's against Joshua, maybe a rematch of Parker, whatever it is. And hopefully we see Deontay Wilder retire as he should. And I still feel that 5 years from now, he's going to be voted into the Hall of Fame. Although, again, he wouldn't get my vote. He's just not on that level. Never has been. By the way, guys, I should have mentioned before, I'm not taking calls. So I several of you guys I see in the chat, you're trying to call in. I'm not taking calls right now. I'm not going to go much longer. We're going to jump off here. I just wanted to give my thoughts. We'll talk more about this, obviously. All right. I just want to read some comments here. Good Stuff 101 says LDBC on life support. Bad night for the LDBC. Emma Williams got knocked out. Raymond Ford lost his belt. Wilder got flatlined. It's been a rough few years. It's been a rough decade, pretty much since 2020. LDBC's suffered. Suffered a lot. Okay. Let's see. What else? Yeah. Hamed says Matchroom got exposed 5-0 Queensbury. Yeah, dude. I mean, Matchroom's had a tough year. They've had a tough few years too. Yeah, sure enough. Let's see. 91 Reasons asks, what's up, Mike? Was hoping to do a post-fight show. When's the next Neutral Corner? I don't know, dude. I'm trying, guys. I would have done one this week, but I actually got a gig. I've had to turn down a lot of work over the last year and a half since having kids. I've turned down 90% of the offers I've had, but this one fell into my lap and it was just a really good offer. And I was like, let me go ahead and take this. So I ended up working Thursday, calling fights for the Team Combat League. They had a show here in Atlanta and that went pretty well. If I wouldn't have done that, I probably would have did a show Friday, but man, I was so tired after that. So let's see. Todd Shockley says Montero can't help but lay it on thick because of his reactionary conservative pussy politics. You're not smart enough to discuss politics, period. Well, Todd, fuck you. By the way, Todd, I'm not a conservative. I'm a classical liberal. I'm probably more liberal than you are in most things. What you would call liberal, though, in modern day times is the far, far left. And yeah, I'm not with that. But I'm definitely not a conservative, bro. I'm pro-choice. I do think we need stricter gun legislation. There's a lot of things that you'd be surprised by political leanings. Okay, so that has nothing to do with my reaction to this. I'm just calling it like I see it. You're an asshole, and you're the one who's biased and has a problem. Fuck off. Don't come back to the show. Just leave and never come back. But we both know you're going to be back. You can't help it. Gail says, Montero, I'm laughing my ass off as one of the few voting members of the BWAA who is not an old white man. Truer words never spoken. Thank you, Gail. So, hey, Todd, listen to Gail, okay? Gail, you know I'm right. Look, I left that organization, and I'm not the only ones. Colleagues of mine have left. It's a failing organization. Gail, there's no reason to even be there anyway. But yes, the majority, it's literally like 99% old white dude. That's who's I'm talking like Anglo white, Gail is an exception. You're one of the exceptions, Gail. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to trigger so many people tonight. I don't care. I'm always proven right in the end. You guys freak out. You get so mad, and I'm proven right all the time. All the time. Hamad's asking, why don't I talk about the other fights? How'd you score the Ball versus Ford fight? Yeah, that fight was close. I know it was a controversial score. Look, dude, we'll talk about those in a future show. I just wanted to talk about the heavyweights because there was two important heavyweight fights that had great implications for the division going forward. And I just wanted to talk about that. We'll talk about the rest of the card in detail and some other cards. There've been some important cards, and there's some important cards coming up. Okay, let's see. Want to make sure I didn't miss any comments here that stand out. Mike Laser says, I think Ajit Caballero is the dark horse that is being slept on. Hey, man, I'm with you. I thought his stock rose so much in his most recent performance. Looked really good. And I think you could absolutely make a case for him in the top 10 right now. I think you could. Maybe at the very, very bottom of the top 10. All right, what else? Big Slim says, hilarious, Mike, with the roast. Dude, I'm not even trying to roast, man. I'm just trying to just call it the way I see it, you know? Like, people always take it the wrong way. But yeah. Hamed says, far right is just as bad as far left, Mike. You do let Thad talk a lot of far right politics. Well, I listen, I agree with you, Hamed. Far right is just as bad as far left. My thing is this. I will let anybody express their political viewpoints on my show, as long as you're not being disrespectful. Now, that Todd guy was being a jerk off and being defamatory about, defaming my character and saying things about me that are just not true. So I'm going to push back against that. But anybody's allowed to come on here and express their opinions, right? And however you want to define it, left, right, whatever. I think people make too much of those distinctions, honestly. Most people are a mixed bag of both, which I am. There are things that are left and things that are right, conservative and leftist that I believe in. Anyway, I'm cool with everyone. Bring your opinions here and we can talk about it. I'm always going to welcome different opinions. So it's all good. It's all good. Gail says, Montero, it's up to some of us who care to affect change from the inside. The BWAA still plays a role. We got this. Okay. I'll just say this, Gail, the leadership has to change over there. And also they need to join the 21st century. Right now, the problem is boxing is a global sport. And the voting base for the International Boxing Hall of Fame is predominantly BWAA guys, which is old white guys who used to write for newspapers and stuff. They're dinosaurs. The majority of the media now is global. It's international. I'm talking boxing. And a lot of it's online. It's guys like me. It's guys that do podcasts and YouTube stuff. Maybe, I do some, me, I do a little bit of everything, but like, there are prominent podcasters that I think should be voting in the Hall of Fame. I truly believe that. And I think until these organizations step up and just join the 21st century and start giving some of these podcasters and stuff a real shot and giving them a voice and bringing on people from other parts of the world, these organizations are going to live in obscurity because they're living in the dark ages. And you know what I'm talking about. Even the voting process for the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Come on. that voting process is really outdated. I'm saying that as a guy, as a voter, but um, it should really be called the American Boxing Hall of Fame, if we're going to be honest right now. If you're going to call it the International Boxing Hall of Fame, you should have international representation. Anyway, let's see. Jose Maki says politics is like religion. Do your own thing and let people do their thing. Yeah, I agree, man. It's a personal matter. The problem with politics, particularly in America right now, is just a lot of people like, man, they get so emotional about it, and they get really judgmental, and they let their feelings get in the way of logic and reason. And like that Todd dude before just said a bunch of crap that just isn't true. And it's because he's so wrapped up in his own biases and opinions that like it puts a filter over everything he sees and hears. And there's just a lot of that going on both sides of the fence. And also, by the way, the American political system right now is insane what's going on in this country, and it's only going to get crazier. Buckle up. The next 5-6 months is going to be a circus. Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. It's kind of embarrassing. Boy. Mark Jones. What's up, Mark? He says the women's panel is made up of people around the world. You know what? And I'm on the women's panel, Mark, and you know that. But I'm with you. The women's panel is honestly the best thing the International Boxing Hall of Fame is doing right now because of what you just said. It's a new category. It's fresh. It's relevant in what's going on in the sport right now. But there's also representation from around the world and a lot of women voting, which they should be voting. So I think that's the right direction that the rest of the organization needs to head in, right? So you've done a great job with that, bro. All right, let's see here. Fly May says Raymond Ford won, in my opinion. They robbed him. Yeah, you're not alone, bro. There's a lot of people that that feel that way. I saw that online. I got to be honest, guys. I didn't see every round of that fight. I was dealing with my kids and feeding them dinner at the time, so I was kind of going back and forth. I saw some of it, but I didn't see every round, so I can't give an honest assessment. And I just don't want to talk about a fight if I haven't seen every single round. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to get something wrong. So until I can watch the entire fight, which I probably will tomorrow, I don't want to comment on it. The J&M says it's been a while. Great to see a live show, Mike, and it's awesome to know that your family is happy and healthy. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Lucas White says, I kind of hope Wilder has an adios fight in Birmingham, Alabama, just to say goodbye. I've been saying for years, bro, that he should fight in Birmingham or even Atlanta. Atlanta is only like a 2-hour drive, maybe an hour and a half from Birmingham, Alabama. So, and Wilder loves to come to Atlanta and party at the clubs here and stuff. He's popular here. He could do, Atlanta is just a much bigger market, right? It's one of the top 10 media markets in America. So, Wilder, I've said for years, should do a fight here. That basically be a homecoming for him. But Birmingham, I'm with you, dude. If they could find a venue there that, I don't know, does 10,000 or so, 12,000, they could probably fill it up. And maybe he should line up one more Robert Helenius type. But I don't know if they're going to do that, bro. Because I just don't know if the money is going to be there to where it's worth it for him. He just, he lost bad to Parker and to Zhang, but he made a lot of money. And I don't think they're going to be able to match that with a fight in Birmingham against, a D-level guy. I don't know. If that ship just may have sailed, you know what I'm saying? But again, he's got the statue in his hometown and all that stuff. And he's got plenty to be proud of. And like, he should just walk away into the sunset, man. It's just my opinion. Let's see. Boxing Boy asks, did the IBF strip Usyk or is he still the champ? I don't understand the IBF and what they're doing. They are apparently not going to strip Usyk, but they were going to strip Canelo. So they were going to demand Canelo fight his mandatory. They're giving Usyk an exception, apparently, so he can fight Fury again. So, to my understanding, the rematch between Usyk and Fury will still be for undisputed, but Canelo's next fight at super middleweight will not be quote unquote undisputed because the IBF is going to strip him. Yeah, they're. I don't know what to think of them lately. I used to really like the IBF, but they've just made some weird decisions in recent years. Fly May asks, could you do a collab with Thunderdome Boxing? Dude, Thunderdome has said a bunch of weird shit about me and done a bunch of hate videos about me and stuff. I don't know why that guy has issues with me. I've never talked to him before. I don't know what the hell is going on there. Nacho says, Ball won the fight. Ford gave too many of the earlier rounds away. Okay. Well, look, I didn't see those early rounds. Like I was saying, I saw more of the later rounds, but what me worry says Zhang only won because the egg weights in his gloves. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of mental gymnastics on Twitter, and I'm seeing people say, well, Fury ruined him, right? Fury ruined him. Wilder was never the same after Fury. Look, Fury did ruin Wilder to a certain extent. I agree with that. But a lot of people that are saying that, you're the same dudes that picked Wilder to beat Parker. You're the same guys that picked Wilder to beat Zhang. You're mad that your guy lost, and now you're trying to say, oh, well, he only lost because Fury took all the life out of him. Really? You didn't think that when you were betting for him to beat Parker and Zhang. You only changed your opinion afterwards, you spineless fucks. I should say you hypocritical fucks, more so than spineless. But yeah, dude, I just, a lot of you guys, do the Monday morning quarterbacking and all this kind of stuff. And I'm seeing all that. Look, man, I told you guys after the rematch between Wilder and Fury, and when they were talking about doing a third fight, I was like, there's no need to do this third fight. Wilder is going to take an unbelievable beating again, and it's going to change him. He should just move on. Go back and look at the record. I said that right here on this platform. And I was chastised for it. Oh, you're just a hater. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Well, what happened? Yes, Wilder did drop Fury a couple times because Fury was sloppy and got lazy defensively. Look, Fury's been down 372 times in his career, okay? Like 1,012 times in his career. It's not an accomplishment dropping him. It's something that happens a lot. But Fury, to his credit, always gets up, fights back, right? And he did against Wilder, and he beat the brakes off the guy and brutally stopped him. And yes, is Wilder the same dude that he was a few years ago? No. Those fights took a lot out of him. But I still strongly feel that a prime Deontay Wilder, the best version of Deontay Wilder, okay, would not beat Anthony Joshua, would not beat Joseph Parker. I don't know if he beat Zhilei Zhang. I honestly don't know. I really don't. I really don't. Would have never beat Tyson Fury. Would have certainly never. Well, we know what happened with him and Klitschko in sparring. I'm sure you guys have heard those rumors. By the way, it's not rumors. It's true. And there's a reason why they walked away from the potential of fighting him. All I'm saying, look, we could have had Undisputed back a decade ago in the heavyweight division, guys. Okay. Jose Maki says Mark Breland spiked his water. Yeah, probably. Somehow he telepathically spiked the water. Hamed says, Mike, Zhang was a huge favorite. I thought Wilder would have retired after the third Fury fight. Yes, Hamed, Zhang was a huge favorite globally. Here in America, I'm telling you, a lot of American pundits and American fans, people that I know, were betting Wilder. I'm telling you. There were a lot of people that were betting him. And I was like, he ain't going to win this fight, guys. But it is what it is. Hamed says Wilder versus Parker in 2018, 50-50. Fair enough. Fine, 50-50. I'd say 51-49, but whatever. Jose Maki says Hrgovic at 19 was beating up Wilder and David Hayes' camp. Yeah, and among others. I mean, I can continue with that. And look, it's again, it comes off as hating on Wilder. I'm telling you guys, it's truly not. It's just talking about the guy's level. What I find so interesting is that, like, a lot of the people that get really offended if you just try to talk about the real level Wilder's at, those are the same guys that will beat the shit out of, again, I'm going to bring up Arturo Gatti. They'll bring him up and be like, he was never pound for pound. He was never elite. He was never. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I never rated Arturo Gatti on the pound for pound list. He wasn't on the level of the Mayweathers and Pacquiaos and the Juan Manuel Marquez. He wasn't on that level, but he was still pound for pound the most exciting fighter of his generation, one of the most exciting fighters of the last 50 years. He grew the sport. His trilogy with Mickey Ward was legendary. He was the human highlight, really, and a bunch of come from behind wins. He was willing to fight everybody. He took on opponents he should have never fought. Like Oscar De La Hoya. They were like several weight classes apart, like, so when people talk about Gotti's level, I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. He was never on that level. Like, I don't get offended. I'm just like, yeah, you're right. You're right. But he was, I want to say, a Canadian Olympian, maybe not an Olympian, but he was a high-level amateur for Canada. And then he won belts in 2 different weight classes. And he was in multiple fights of the year. And again, he was one of those guys that fought on regular HBO and had amazing fights that the mainstream public watched and talked about. Okay, this is before Twitter existed. This is before social media and all that stuff, and Instagram, where it's about, hey, did you see the video clip on Instagram that went viral? This was actual people watching something on TV and then talking about it at work Monday morning. The water cooler talk, as they say. He was that guy. So that's why Gotti was special. It's not because he was as skilled or as good as Mayweather or De La Hoya or those kind of guys. Why can't we say that about Deontay Wilder? Why do people get so worked up? Why can't I say this dude gave us some really exciting moments? He was extremely limited, but he had a lot of toughness and heart and a solid right hand. And if you stood right in front of him and let him set it up, great right hand. If you could actually box and move, average right hand. That's the truth. But if you stood right in front of him, he could get you with that right hand and flatten you. And he was a great character for the heavyweight division. Why can't I say that? I don't know. People get so worked up, bro. Marvin says the sentimental USA media brainwashed the very gullible to bet blindly on Wilder. Absolutely. I saw the line move. I got some high-level bettors that I talk to all the time, and they showed me the line move because of what you just said. I said, Caleb Plant said it best. You put your money on logic, not sentimental favorites. That's all this is. That's all this is, guys. Don't bet with emotion. It won't work out well for you. It's like they say in the stock market, don't be impulsive. Don't buy with emotion. Be cold and calculated. Think about what you're doing before you buy a stock, right? Same thing when you're betting on boxing, man. Okay. Let's see. I'll take a couple more comments and then we'll bounce. Yeah, I guess we're going to wrap it up, guys. Damien says people can't handle criticism. Yeah. They don't mind criticizing certain things, but then when that criticism comes back towards something that they like or someone they like or whatever, they get butthurt about it. I mean, that's just what it is. You got to be able to keep it consistent, man. Keep it consistent. David Esther says, yes, I never rated Wilder once I got back into watching boxing again. I can't believe I bet $2,000 on him to beat Fury in the rematch. Look, dude, I picked Wilder to beat Fury in the rematch. I drank the Kool-Aid on Deontay Wilder. Okay. So for all of you out there that say I'm a Wilder hater and I've always been against him, by the way, I met Deontay before he was a world title holder, and he couldn't have been a sweeter, nicer guy. He met me and my wife at that time, girlfriend, and gave us a hug. We took pictures with him. Super cool guy, humble, just what I would call like a really sweet country boy. He's a country boy, you know what I'm saying? And he just had that vibe about him. We were just like, man, he's like a teddy bear. He's like a really nice, cool guy. And then he became this character, and I blame his management for that just as much as I blame him for it. They decided to go a certain route and they made it work for them, but he didn't have to go that route. He really didn't have to, but that's the way they chose to go with it. Anyway, yeah, when he was going to rematch Fury, my official pick, I don't know if it was on Ring's site. I can't remember where it was, where I did a fight pick, and I picked Wilder to beat Fury in the rematch. I did. And when I saw what happened in that rematch, I was like, whoa, I underestimated one guy and overestimated the other guy. And I reassessed all of it. And then I looked back at some fights and I was like, whoa, I really was bamboozled here. And I've been a truth teller since that time. And, I get called out for it, but it's just people, they don't want to hear the whole story. They just want to hear the part that triggers them. Ceylon's offended. Okay, Ceylon. I know. Let's see here. Marvin says Povetkin would have exposed Wilder in the same fashion, and he got knocked out by Zhang. Wilder was this generation's Dwayne Bobic, but had huge financial backing to get the WBC belt after Vitali retired. Look, yeah, Povetkin would have beat Wilder. I agree with you. Povetkin was obviously a much better fighter than Wilder, but Povetkin screwed that up. It wasn't Wilder. Wilder was ready to fight Povetkin. Some people have conspiracy theories about what happened or whatever that broke that fight up, but officially it's Povetkin who screwed that up. But I agree with you. He would have beat Wilder. But you're right about the fact that I'm not going to compare him to Dwayne Bobic, but he did have backing behind him. He had powerful people behind him, and Wilder checked certain boxes, and he, from a marketing perspective, was easy to market in boxing, particularly if you're marketing fighters a certain way. Right. You want to market as this devastating puncher, this bad boy who can knock you out with one punch. Right. He fit that mold, and they pushed him and marketed him that way. But you can't put him against elite guys, because then that image is going to get blown up. Right. So they needed help to make sure he was in there against the right kind of guys. And the WBC is in business with premier boxing champions. And to be fair, the WBO is in business with Top Rank. And all these sanctioning organizations have allegiances with certain promotions and platforms. So it goes in all directions. But the WBC, they're business partners with PBC. And so for years, you could argue they kind of protected Wilder, just like they protected Adonis Stevenson, and there's plenty of other guys we can bring up. And a lot of people would argue they protected Canelo Alvarez recently as it relates to David Benavidez and that whole thing. So, again, and Canelo is not a PBC guy. He's a Canelo. He's his own thing, right? He fights with every damn promoter. At some point, he's going to fight with every promotion. But he's the money man. And so the WBC has done favors for Canelo. So it is what it is, bro. That's just the business of boxing. All right. Jose Maki, but did he beat Zelenov? He whooped Wilder whooped Zelenov's ass. That was, and I gotta give Deontay credit. That was pretty awesome because Zelenov was a douchebag. Let's see here. All right. Okay. Yeah, Hamed makes a good point here. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just reading the comments. Hamed says Wilder is more like Michael Grant. I concur with that. I think that's a pretty good assessment. The big difference is I think Wilder has a lot more heart than Michael Grant had and a better chin. Um, so there are differences, obviously. I would actually say Wilder was better than Michael Grant, but I do think that there are definitely some parallels there. I see where you're going with that comparison. I think that's a closer comparison than some other names people have thrown around. Hamed says, I disagree. The WBC set up Povetkin meldonium positive was debatable. Yeah, look, there's a whole thing about that. The meldonium thing is kind of weird. The thresholds were changed. WADA's thresholds levels changed and all this stuff. And I'm not going to get into all the nuances of that. But yeah, a lot of people agree with you, Hamed, that that fight didn't need to be canceled. Either way, it is what it is. It never happened. Okay. Uh, all right, guys. I'm going to read a couple more, and that's going to be it. Ahmed says Grant did beat Golada. Golada was a lunatic, really, really talented physically, but mentally just a lunatic. So I'm not surprised Grant beat Golada. Pretty much everybody beat him at some point. Nacho keeps asking about, since he's the mandatory to Adames, what do you think of Shiraz's chances against Adames? He's got a legitimate chance. I mean, when's the last time Adames fought? I don't even know. When's the last time he's fought? I think he's got a legitimate chance. Obviously, Adames is the favorite, but yeah, he's got a chance, dude. Absolutely. Let's see. David Esther says Virgil Ortiz would have killed Tim Tszyu. I don't know about that, bro. Virgil Ortiz is another guy who hasn't been very active. I don't know quite what to make of him, honestly. And Tim Tszyu, say what you will, he's been in there against top level dudes, and he's looked pretty good for the most part. But Virgil, at one part, I was super high on Virgil Ortiz, super high on him. But now, dude, that his momentum's kind of stalled out. I don't know. Lucas White says, I was impressed how Zhang parried Wilder's right hand when he threw it and countered with his own right hook. Joshua may not want to deal with that, but massive fight in China. Yeah, I agree. You could tell they were looking for the right hand. And the commentators, anytime Wilder threw it, they're like, whoa, right? But Zhang was doing a very good job staying at distance and moving with that right hand to take steam off of it. Just slight step back, slight lean back to minimize its impact. And then ultimately, once he got the timing of it down, he was able to kind of start coming downhill on Deontay, and you saw what happened. David Esther says Jared Anderson versus Wilder. Honestly, dude, Deontay doesn't need to become a guy that is a stepping stone for prospects. He just needs to retire. I just don't think there's enough money in that kind of a fight for him. Why would you do it? When he was at the level he was at, making the money he was making, you're going to take a significant pay cut to be, a resume builder for Big Baby Anderson. Nah, he needs to walk away, bro. It's just time for him to retire. He had a great career for the level he was at. All right. Midwest Boxing, what's up, bro? He asks, what do you think of Malik Scott as a coach? I think Wilder should have went with Freddie Roach a long time ago. The whole Deontay Wilder, Malik Scott thing, what can I say? I don't think Malik is definitely a good boxing guy, and he has a lot of knowledge. He's been in the gym. He's sparred with everybody back when he was fighting. But does he train anybody else of note? Not that I know of. And what's his record with Wilder? They won one fight together. I think that was against Hellenius. That's not saying much. Um, and the beating he let Wilder take in that third Fury fight, when I thought that fight should have been stopped, um, that just kind of says everything about that relationship to me. Yeah. All right. Yeah, Joel Morgan says Wilder doesn't need to become a gatekeeper, needs to call it a career. Completely agree, bro. Good to hear from you, Joel. Yeah, Wilder just needs to walk away. It's time. J&M with the super chat. Thank you so much. What are your thoughts on Moses Ituma? He looks to be an exceptional talent. What the heck? Let's pull up his record. Let's take a look. Let me share my screen. Show you guys his record here. Take a look. We'll take a look at Moses Ituma's record. 22-0 at 10 knockouts. Here's the issue, dude. His record is pretty bad. I'm just looking here, and most of his opponents are no stars, not even one star. So I don't know what to make of this dude. 19 years old, which, okay. 19 years old, no reason to rush. But I'm just taking a look here, and yeah, the record's not exactly stellar. Even his amateur record, I'm looking here, and it's a bunch of no stars. So, yeah. Until he steps in there and fights somebody of note, can't really say much about him, brother. Appreciate the super chat. All right. Couple more. The Keggy says, under Malik Scott, Wilder only won one fight out of 5. Yeah. Yeah, bro. I mean, Wilder lost 4 of his last 5 fights, right? The one fight he won was against Robert Hellenius, who in his, Robert Hellenius, in his very next fight, he fought, a 1-star level guy on BoxRec, and then he fought Joshua and got flattened again and retired. So that fight was what it was. Against 4 top heavyweights, and again, it's Fury, it's Parker, it's Zhang. Wilder barely won a round. And that's not hating. That's just telling the truth of what happened. So his levels kind of been revealed. And it's okay. It's like, dude, walk away. Walk away. You've had a great career. You made a ton of money. All right. Selah makes a good point here that the first Stavern fight showed lots of promise that never happened. You're absolutely right, Ceylon. I remember when I watched the first fight, Wilder Stavern, when he won the belt, and he just worked behind the jab and just boxed Stavern. I was like, man, he's got something here. But I don't know how much of this was on Wilder versus his team or whatever, but they didn't develop on that. They fell in love with the power and started just going for the knockouts. And Wilder got really sloppy and regressed almost from his skill level in that fight. Maybe that was on him. He just didn't want to do. It's hard, bro, to go in the gym and do all those drills and all that slow motion stuff. And you're like, dude, I just want to get in there and do my thing, to slow down and work on those fundamentals step by step. It takes extraordinary discipline. And maybe he just didn't want to do that. But maybe his team was just like, hey, man, we're not going to be that kind of fighter. Go in there and bang. I honestly don't know. But that first Stavern fight is part of the reason I picked Wilder to beat Fury in their rematch. because part of me thought, okay, Wilder's going to learn from this rematch or from the first fight. And in the rematch, he's going to fight a lot more like he fought Stavern. He's going to work behind that jab and stay long and then shoot the big right hand. And, I was totally wrong, obviously. But yeah. I don't know, dude. After that, he just wasn't the same. Wasn't the same. Hold on. Someone said I was looking at. No. Okay. Let's see. Marvin says, I'm losing my voice here. He says, all the gullible idealists that fell for the media propaganda, picking Wilder deserve to lose their money and pride. Same as those building up Haney, pure propaganda. Well, there's been a lot of propaganda behind Wilder, but look, I can say the same thing about every fighter, bro. I mean, every fighter has crazy fans that are overzealous. We could say the same thing about some of the Canelo fans, some of the Usyk fans, some of the Joshua fans. Name a fighter, right? So it goes in all directions, but yeah, I'm with you. I think that there's been a lot of hype around Wilder. He's been very overrated. It is what it is. Frank says Wilder was the best personality till this day. Yeah, Frank, I talked about that earlier in the show. Like, you don't have to like the persona, the character he played. I didn't like some of the things he said. I thought they were divisive and unnecessary, and there was racial undertones and all that. Just unnecessary. But either way, it added character to the heavyweight division. And after the dull character during the Klitschko era, seeing the Deontay Wilders, the Tyson Furies, and even like the Joseph Parkers, and these guys are getting from different parts of the world with different personalities and stuff. Alexander Usyk is a character. I'm very feel, right? Right. Joseph Parker during COVID was making all those fun like music video parodies and stuff. So we got characters in this division, and that's made it a lot of fun. And Wilder was one of those guys. So I thank him for that. I thank him for that and for the exciting moments he gave us. And that's, again, that's why I'm like, I hope he walks away. Hope he walks away. Komatsuda with an interesting question. Who will be the number one heavyweight in 5 years? I don't know, dude. That it's totally wide open right now because you look in 5 years, obviously Usyk, Fury, Joshua, they're all going to be gone. I mean, it's possible Joshua will still be around, but I don't think so. Those guys are going to be gone, and even guys like Zhang and Parker, they're going to be gone. So who's it going to be? I mean, right now you got Big Baby Anderson, you got Jalalov, you got a couple of guys, but I just don't know who's going to step up and be that dude. Danny Dubois will probably still be around. Who knows? Maybe he's got a shot. I don't know. It's completely up for grabs. It's really hard to say. David Esther asks, what do you think about Jaron Boots Ennis? I'm very happy for Boots that he left the management team he had before. He was represented by a group of people. He's walked away. He's got a new deal. His career will start to flourish now. He's got a fight coming up that's a showcase matchup in his hometown. He'll start to build a brand there, and Ennis will be a legit top guy from 147 through 160 in the coming years. And that would be great, especially if he ends up being, he'll definitely go to 154, but if he ends up going to 160 and having success there, that'll be big time because middleweight is dead. That division is dead right now. Damien says, my dad is 89 years old and he told me about Usyk years ago. Wow, 89 years old, man. Props to your dad. I hope I live to be that long. I really do, man. I'm turning 45 this month. So if I can live to be at least 90, that means I've got 45 more years left. I'd really like to live to be at least 100. I really would. But we'll see. Okay. All right, guys. We're going to wrap it up, man. Sorry that I triggered some of you. Oh, I apologize. But, what can I say? All right. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll talk again soon. Peace.